Good morning, guys. We got Michael Higdon here. He is in, you're in Kentucky? Louisville, Kentucky. So Michael and I have known each other for, I think, 5 years now.
Yeah.
We have a mutual friend.
Time flies.
It does, doesn't it? I remember when I first got that call from Brandon and he's like, hey, man, I know you're doing really well with your sales. We got our coaching thing that we're doing and got another buddy and just wanted to see if we could jump on a few calls and see if we could kind of mastermind a bit. And that was awesome meeting you and Brandon and us all helping each other. And I really like the Probates and Estates. I think they've been awesome. I actually have been calling on that myself, having my virtual assistants and my cold callers do that. They'll send me the warm leads and then we either close those through wholesale or we close those through retail, or I buy them myself. So you being kind of the master of that and introducing me, I just wanted to have an interview with you, see the process, see what's worked for you and whatnot, and go through everything. So how long have you been in real estate, Michael?
I'm in this year was my 19th year. So next year will be my 20th year.
Man, that's crazy.
Really, so almost 2 decades. And I got the gray hair to prove it.
Yeah, it looks good. I've been using a different product too. So
I shouldn't have brought up hair.
No, you're good. I like my head like this, so I don't have it any other way. So what got you into probates and estates? Why do you do it? And
I'm asked that question a lot, and I'm 50 years old now, and I guess it was by design or time. So I'm a what am I, Gen Xer? If you're looking at that, which I never subscribed to any of that, but raised by a baby boomer. Yeah. And so a lot of my friends and relatives and such, they're starting to pass away, and they've been passing away for the last 10 years. And I don't say that to be, callous or not sensitive to that. It's just, we're all going that way. Right. Yeah. But I noticed, probably 8 to 9 years ago, I was getting a lot more calls to say, hey, mom passed away, dads were putting him in a home, or just scenarios were coming up a lot more to where, we had to help with the estate and get more familiar with wills and terms like testate and intestate and probates and estates. So I really said, there's a niche here that we can delve into, and just chose to really be more intent on figuring out a system and looking into, we can not to be an ambulance chaser in any way, but to provide a service to folks, because there was a need there. There was, and there's a value that we provide to that within the estate. So that's slowly amassed. Now we're 8 to 9 years into it. And I think I've helped about, 150, 175 people in those years to sell estates and probates. So it's probably, if you're looking at what I call the legs on your production table, and I use that analogy because the more legs that you have, the sturdier your table is going to be. Your sphere and circle of influence should always be your number one, and that should always be your number one gold mine. For me, probates and estates is number 2, and it probably accounts for 20 to 30% of my business.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So what you had mentioned one thing about being an ambulance chaser. I felt that same way, but as I started diving into this, a lot of these clients don't know who they would go to and what the process is. So being able to walk them through that, they're super grateful about it. A lot of times they just want to get rid of it, right? Because they're out of state. Yeah. They've got a lot on their plate already. So it's a good deal for me to pick up as an individual. It's good for our investors, or it's good to have it as a listing. So there's kind of 3
That's
horns
right.
that can take it.
And they're getting hit. And I think that's the difference in a lot of agents that are either agents or investors. I would say that you have to come at it with a true compassionate bone and know that for sure this is a person that either lost a mother or a father or an heir. Whether they're the administrator or the executor. I think the manner in which I call people and just talk to them and just say, hey, I know you're in the letter that we sent out. It's truly, hey, I know you're going through a hard time right now. Here's some of the services that we provide, whether that be clean up, clean out, list of contractors, a myriad of services. Oh, and by the way, should you need to sell the property, that's a service that we provide as well. And I found that, again, we wear different hats in this industry all the time. I can easily take off my realtor cap and put on my investor cap, which I've done several times. And it is a great pull for finding investments right now. And I've found that I do, there's some sharper elbows, as my coach says, in this space, meaning there's more people pushing to get into estates as an investment space, because a lot of the foreclosures and the short sales from years ago, 2009, those dried up. So investors still have to be investors. And I've had properties that I've purchased, gone in, and the guy's like, I'm getting offers for 75, 80,000. And I'm like, you could put this on the market and sell it for 150 if you just put a little money into it. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. If you want to buy it, you want to give me 80,000 right now, I'll sell it to you. And I'm like, okay, but I want you to know, I want you to sign this paper that says, hey, I'm buying this as an investor with my investor hat. And you agree that, because my intention is to buy it low, put some money into it and sell it high, which we bought it for 80, put 20 into it, sold it for like 150, 140, 150. Yeah. The guy was fine with that. And that's just, I think if you disclose that, that's just called normal good business.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think that's amazing. I have people sign stuff like that too, that say, hey, on the open market, you could get this or get that. A lot of times I'm dealing with older people or just they're novice, and I don't want them to feel like they're being taken advantage of, and give them the upfront, just how I would want that to be dealt with myself. So I think that's great that you do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's twofold. It's protecting yourself and the client as well.
Yeah. Where are you getting your leads for your probates on estates? Are you still using US Probate?
It's funny, James, when we first started out, we were in the local paper. They were putting them out, I think it was like every third or second Friday of the month. So we would manually, my assistant and I, every Friday, and I had my alarm to stop by the gas station, pick up a copy of the paper. Nice. And we would sit there and just go through them. It literally took all day to figure out the ones that we wanted, and we would create a database, and we cross-reference the phone numbers, and it took a while, but there was some meat there. But I'm like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better system for this, and somebody's already doing all this work for us, because we couldn't, out of all our best tries, we couldn't find our way up the river to find out who had that data locally. So we found it through US Probates is the one that we've used and kind of hitched our wagon to the last few years. Again, there's a myriad of other companies out there that do that kind of service. And if you don't want to pay for it, you can do it the old fashioned way, which is go to the courthouse in your local area. A lot of them require you to go there, get on the computer. But with that, you'll also get the data a lot sooner, and it'll be a lot fresher for you to maybe beat out some of the competition. So there's pluses and minuses in both ways.
I found that it's, that some of those have already been picked up by other real estate agents, or investors have already picked it up. So I'm a little late to the game to go to the courthouse and whatnot. I mean, with our busy schedules, sometimes it's pretty difficult to do that, but that's a great way to get ahead of the crowd, right? For those. So US Probates is good. I've used them for years since I bought them that month after we started talking. I started doing that and playing it into and I've gotten, I don't know, probably a handful of listings a year, and then getting the wholesale. So for instance, do you do any wholesale by chance or no?
It's not in my wheelhouse. I mean, I have in the past. Yeah, I've done a few wholesales. It's just not something that I've here locally. We're so tight on inventory, and it's constricting on the margins on that. So for me, it's just, I stick to the more traditional resales type stuff.
Yeah. And I get that. So when you're calling somebody, do you mind me asking like what your script sounds like and how you go through that? And we can kind of do like a little bit of role play. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I there's a term that I use that I have a buddy, Sean, I call it country dumb, where I'm like, I would say ring, ring, and you pick up the phone. I'm like, I was looking for James. And you're like, this is James. Or we can role play it if you want to.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll be the
ring, ring.
Good morning. Hello.
Yeah, is this James?
This is, yes.
James, good morning. My name is Michael Higdon. Hey, real quick, I was calling about a property I think you were executor on over on Main Street. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, actually, that was my mom's house. She just passed away. So we're trying to figure everything out right now with the estate and whatnot. So, yeah.
Okay, great. I wanted to make sure I had the right person. And I'm first off, I'm sorry about the passing of your mother on that. I know that has to be some stuff you're going through right now, and I appreciate you taking the call. I wanted to reach out. I do a lot of work with probates and estates here locally. So I wanted to see, first off, if you and or the estate may have a need to sell that property anytime in the near future.
Yeah, we've been looking at that for sure. There's some stuff that we got to do around the house and whatnot. So we've been kind of looking at that. We're just working with the attorneys right now. Everything's ready to go, so I can kind of do something, but we just don't know what to do to really get the property ready at this point. We're living out of state and dealing with we're living out of state and dealing with the estate at the same time. So it's been a little bit more work than what we're kind of used to.
Yeah, and I'm very familiar with that process. It's kind of like, it sounds like you're kind of in the clean out sort of phase right now. Does that sound about right? Yeah,
it's a bit overwhelming, to be honest.
Now, is that still in the probate process, or has that been released? Are you all free to sell it, here in the state?
We just met with the attorney on Monday, and it being Thursday, we got the all clear to go. So it's kind of crazy that you called at this point in time, because we're just looking at our different options, whether we want to sell it to an investor or kind of what we want to do. We just don't know, or keep it as a rental property.
And that's a great question, James, and I appreciate the information that you're sharing with me. Personally, I've been able to help about 150 executors just like yourself sell probate properties just like this. So I wanted to reach out and see, one, it sounds like you do have to sell the property. And would you need any assistance on the cleanup front, and ultimately kind of getting the property ready for sale?
Yeah, we've been looking at different companies and whatnot. We haven't made a move on that just because, again, we just got the all clear to go. We're just kind of going through the items in the house right now and maybe looking at doing a estate sale or something like that. But yeah, I mean, if you have those resources, that'd be great. And you said that you've helped 100 people or so with this.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to honk my own horn or anything. It's just kind of a niche that I serve here locally. And I'm very familiar with the probate process and what it takes to get a property sold. And that's what I was calling to see if it meant maximizing the return for you and the estate on the sale of the property. Would that be something that we could discuss a little more further?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And I know I'm sorry, James. And I know you're out of town. When's the next time that you're going to be in town, maybe visiting the property?
Oh, we're actually here right now. Like I had said, we're just going through everything. We met with the attorney on Monday. It being Thursday, we've just kind of been going through everything and discussing with the family what we want to do. So your call kind of came at a perfect time. So we're here until Wednesday of next week.
Oh, perfect. Well, listen, I'm in your area all the time. May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to come over to see what the property has to offer in person, and then I can make some suggestions for you and the estate on what it may take to get it sold. I've got an opening. See, it looks like this Saturday at 10 o'clock, or we could do maybe Friday around 4. Would either one of those times work for you?
Friday would be perfect at 4 o'clock. So, is there anything that we need to have prepared or whatnot? Or
yeah, what would be the best email for you so I could send you some preliminary information?
Yeah, 123 estate sale.
Perfect. I've got that. And just so for my information, I just got a couple of more detailed questions about the property. Would I be able to ask those of you? And would you have another minute for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Great. Then I just delve into more of a pre-qual and ask more detailed questions and kind of prepare a preliminary comparative market analysis for them. And,
what are those questions you're asking, Michael, just so that we can jot those down?
We're asking, you're asking, great. I just want to make sure just some details about the property. It looks like it's a ranch, correct? I'm looking at I pulled it up on our property value administration for the taxes. It looks like it's about 1,400 square feet. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. And 3 bedroomed. It looks like maybe a one full half. How many bathrooms does that have?
Two bathrooms. So 1 full, 1 3/4 bath.
Perfect. And I see it does have a basement. Is that finished or unfinished?
Unfinished.
Great. And it looks like a 2-car garage detached. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Great. And and I know you're not an appraiser or anything, but what would you say the pluses and minuses in terms of the condition of the property are?
My mom kept it in pretty good condition, so it's pretty much move-in ready. Obviously, there's some updating because she's been here for 25 years with my dad passed away about 5 years ago.
Sure.
So there's some updating that needs to be done. I'm not sure the age of the roof or the HVAC or water heater at this time. So those will all have to be done during the inspection, or if you do a pre-inspection. I don't know how that.
No, that's fine. You know, we can look at maybe some stickers that they have there and just go through some old records. And but again, those are the kind of the detailed questions that I would normally get from you. And what else would I ask? Just so have you know, and the other thing I would say is, like, I know some people look on Zillow and kind of come up with an idea of pricing that they have in mind. Have you kept up with prices in the area, or do you have an idea of what you were trying to, get for the property?
We just looked at Zillow to kind of see where it was at, looked at the bank balance and tried to see what we would actually make off of that. How close is Zillow to the actual pricing that we'll get? Do you know?
I don't usually use Zillow just because it doesn't take into consideration your individual market. It's kind of like getting your local news from USA Today from a newspaper standpoint, right? You want to get it from the local reporter instead of, hey, here's what's happening in Idaho. Well, it doesn't apply to me. They do somewhat of a good job, but what I'd like to do, James, is kind of give you a tiered value. So we'll look at the property, and I'll bring, of course, all the records and the recent sales, and we look at it from, say, here's what the baseline is going to be from as an as-is value. We'll look at it from, let's say you do a little paint and carpeting. Here's what that value is going to be. And then we'll look at it from the top of the market value. Here's what, say, maybe a flipped property is, or somebody that's really kept good care of their property. We can look at that and base it upon, the condition that your mom's house was in. And then while it's not an ideal number, like, we're not going to hit it to the T, we'll have a pretty good range that we can start the property in. Does that sound good to you? Yeah,
that sounds great. Absolutely.
And of course, my goal is always to maximize the return on the sale of the property. I'm sure you're getting your doors blown down by investors in this area looking to kind of maybe swipe that out from under you.
Yeah, we've had a couple of calls. Some of them I haven't gotten back to, and they didn't sound as maybe professional as you. So, and again, the investors wanted to take it for a certain price. We kind of wanted to get market value anyways, and kind of see where it's at and put it in your hands if you're familiar with the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to go, my goal is to go the other way with that. I want to, again, sell it for the highest amount of what the market's going to bear, make some recommendations, but keep as much equity in your pocket as possible. And really, because that's what the ultimately is going to do, James. It's going to honor the memory of your mom and your dad, and putting as much money in your pocket, which is what I'm sure they worked so hard for over the years. Kind of sound familiar?
Absolutely. Yep. And this is kind of what they left us. So for the most part,
there you go. And that's my goal as well. So with that said, I've got you guys down for 4:00 on Friday. Now, one important question: are you the only decision maker in this process, or are there some other areas that need to be part of this?
No, I'm the main one. I would just have to kind of talk to my sister, but maybe we could bring her in via phone call. She's pretty open to doing whatever we kind of suggest and whatnot. So
yeah, absolutely. I want anybody that's, I know you're showing you're the executor on here, but anybody that may have a kind of a decision in that process, I definitely want to make them feel part of it.
Yes. Yep. So we can absolutely do that. That'd be great. So thank you, Michael. I'll see you at 4:00.
I really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you and meeting anyone else there on Friday at 4:00. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
So some questions I have for you. What are the cons to doing probates and estates that you've seen? And I love your script. We'll get that typed out. And
again, that's kind of, I don't have it in front of me, but that's, may have jumped around, but that's, I would say 90% dead on what a call is. It's really providing value because they are getting a lot of bottom feeders. Yeah. Again, just you're trying to present yourself as the knight in shining armor. Don't get me wrong. You're an investor. I'm an investor. But if you can position yourself as, these nasty investors that are trying to swipe your mom's property, that may be that. A lot of times I've had success with that because I've gotten calls off a letter that I send all the time stating that we called you because your letter had such a different tone to it, and it just came off as more compassionate, more caring. You were professional. So that's them calling me, telling that before I've even had a chance to give them a call. I'll get my list of estates, and I'll just kind of edit that and pare through that, meaning there's certain zip codes that I don't work. There's certain areas of town that I don't want to go into. And we'll leave that over there. And there's some properties that I'll go through. They're already active. They've already been sold. They've already exchanged hands for sale by owners on the PVA. So I'll have my assistant just kind of pair through those so that the lists that I'm sending out, and some of them are nursing homes. You've been through those lists before, and it's like, I don't want to waste, a quarter or a call if it's already one on the market or two. It's not in a state that they can sell. But then I'll send that letter out, and then 2 or 3 days later, once they get the letter, I'll put a call into them and say, "Hey, it's Michael Higdon. Yeah, we just got your letter." And in that letter, I'll put in some branding, because they're getting letters from other people. So I'll include
a
business card like that. Now, I have my normal business card. So that's my normal business card right there. And that's not an advertisement for my brokerage or anything. That's just who I'm with right now. And that's my face on the back. So when they're getting all these other cards from everyone that may have just a picture of normal realtor on there, and they're going for like, who are we going to select? Right.
Yeah.
And they're putting all these cards on the table. Which one's going to stand out?
Well, for sure, the probate.
It's such a small thing, though, isn't it?
Dude, I love that. I think that's and not all your cards say the probate agent. Right?
This is my normal card. I send like to for sale by owners or expireds in my database, but I have this. I've got letterhead that also says probate realtor on it.
Yeah.
And then I'll send out I had a write-up done several years ago. It was one of those magazines, and it just talks about my niche, which is probates and things like that. And I'll include that in there. And so they're getting all this stuff, and it comes across as a quick professional presentation. We only get a snapshot of time to set ourselves apart. And I got this trick from Mike Torres International. I don't know if you've ever taken his course.
No.
Really good course. He teaches a very good course, and that's not a plug for just try to sell Mike program, but it's MTI, and you get a certification with that. I've got that designation, but it's some really good nuggets. They give you some good letters. But I got that idea, and I was like, that was a really good idea, because it will help set you apart. And people have said that as well.
That's great. My script is basically the same that what you're saying, and I think that's great the way that you flow and whatnot, because you don't want to come off as an investor right away, right? And just kind of see what needs at that and what help they need at that. So the letter, you're just mailing one letter?
Yeah, and it's basically to the gist of, hey, it's Michael Higdon. I know that you may be going through a hard time right now with the loss of your loved one. And I was referencing the property over here at blank. And now I'll send that to two different, this is an important point. I do send that out to, because the list that you and I get, we get the estate address, right?
Yeah.
And we also get the administrator or executor. Those are two different things. And executors are for testate, probates, or for administrators are intestate, meaning they didn't have a will. Yeah. And it's important to decipher that. But I'll send that out to the estate. So there may be no one living there.
Who are you using for mailing out the letters? Are you doing it personally?
Yeah, because or my assistant's doing. I'll just send her. We'll pare it down, and then she'll just because I think numbers wise, I don't know how many you get a month. I would say on average, I'm getting 175 people. Okay. And by the time a month.
Oh, geez. That's way more than I'm getting. I think I'm getting like 30 to 40.
Oh, really? Okay. So I'll get that list. Now there's sometimes a month old, maybe a couple months old. I don't mind that. And I'm also not sending, let's say that the estate, it has on there John Doe, and the executor or the administrator is Mary Doe, and they're both at the same address. I don't mail out to that because it's probably his wife who's the survivor there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm how would you feel if it's like, hey, sorry about your loss. You want to sell the house?
I know you say, how would you feel about that? But I think a lot of people, especially if it's a widow, they want to know what their options are if they want to sell, right?
And so I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Especially with a guy like you and your personality and my personality, we're there to help, right? Like we're genuinely there to help. We're not going to be scumbags about we're going to go after it to see what we can do to help. If they don't need the help, then I'm off of it. Right. I'm like, okay, completely understandable. Yeah. Hey, if you need me to pick up groceries or something during the hard time, if you're left alone, please let me know. And I have done that for people, or I'll have my assistant do it to help them out. Yeah. Because it's a tough time.
I should probably, again, that's either an ego thing for me or I got my hand bit before type deal where I didn't want to be that guy where it's like, but again, I should probably track that and put it in copy paste it and put it over here in a separate database and then go back, because some of them may be like, I don't want the memory of my husband who lived here, or, maybe I'm downsizing to a nursing facility, or I'm moving in with my daughter or something. Yeah, I know a ton of agents that do that, and they get business from it. For me, it's something that at this time I choose to not do.
That first example that you gave where they didn't want the memories, I just picked up a listing this week by doing that. Yeah.
There you go. So I stand corrected. I am fallible, James.
Yeah. We're all learning, we're all doing our best, and there's stuff that we're going to put in our own roadway to block us a little bit or detour us. But yeah, I think that's great. And thank you for the tip on sending a letter to the executor and to the estate address itself.
What was the other thing I was going to show you as part of that MTI education thing? Some other some great reaching under my desk here for a lot of my stuff. So what's one thing? I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to put it up close. The duties of the executor. I mean,
dude, I love that. Yes. Yeah.
I should just do a snippet every day. Hey, here's some of the duties. But I've gone in listing appointments. Not only that, but there's another one on here that talks about the probate timeline.
Dude, that's great. Oh my god.
And it's kind of, I know it's coming off backwards right now, but it talks about the dates which you would expect. So I've gone into listings that I've sent these out on. So I'll get my first letter. That's my letter right there. And then a couple of weeks later, maybe a month later, I'll send out this one, and then I'll send out this one. And then like a week or so later, or I'll go into the appointment, and then they'll have these on the refrigerator.
Wow. Okay. That's great.
And this is important. The one thing I was going to mention was from a timing aspect on estates is, and you alluded to it earlier. Yeah. Going to the courthouse is going to get you that information sooner, but we can't control their timing on when they're ready.
No.
Because sometimes the executor, I've had them that call me back a year later.
Yeah.
Where they've been like, I can't even go in the house. I've still got this bad memory of when mom or dad passed away. And a lot of times is when their motivation increases when the money runs out of mom and dad's bank account.
True.
Because they're paying the bills. They've got to keep the lights on. They got to pay the insurance, all these things. And now they're like, I'm out of money, or I'm getting close to being out of money, and I still got to do these things. Where's the next available amount of money? It's in the equity, right?
I was able to help somebody because they called me and I said, hey, I know you've been following up once a month or so, and we just got a letter about the weeds. Do you have anybody that can help me with that? I said, yeah. And they're like, this is just becoming a little bit too much with the weeds, and the house is kind of deteriorating. What are our options? And we were able to get that sold. So
that's motivation. And I'll tell you this, if you're doing this, and you may allude to this as well, the ones where my star goes off, my light goes off, when I'm seeing the list, I see a local administrator, then I see one that's out of town. And you kind of alluded to that on your role play. Those are the ones that are gold. I've had probably 20 executors that I've never met.
Yeah.
And they'll send you a key, and they've let me in. I've done all the clean out for them. Of course, they're paying the bills, but it's like, can you help me with this? Yeah, let me get over there. I'll send them a CMA. I'll do everything, either FaceTime, or we'll do a Zoom, and then just do everything by email. And we can do all the contracts digitally with a dot loop or a ThinDesign or whatever your digital signature du jour is. And then they've overnighted all the contracts to them for the closing. They sign off. They get a notary in their state, and they do a FaceTime again with them, and we've never met face to face, and it's a beautiful thing.
But basically, your process is you get these in from US Probate. Are you hand dialing these, or are you doing a multi-line dialer, or how are you?
I'll drop them into Mojo.
Okay, so drop it into Mojo,
or Mojo, RedX, whatever you prefer.
Okay. Are you using like CRM, like Follow Up Boss, so you can email and text them at the same time?
Yes, cool. I use Follow Up Boss.
Nice, good.
And so I'm getting some, and I've started doing that in the last 6 months, where I'll call them first. Well, I'll send my letter first. We were talking about the sequence. Call them first, then I'll text them, and this is kind of a weeding out process again, because that list is going to grow shorter and shorter as time goes by. And then I'll send a text. I'll send a text over to them. Then I'll put a call into them.
Okay.
So that's kind of within the first week.
Text and call first week. Okay. And then the letter goes out that first week as well?
The letter goes out very first thing. Yeah. So they're getting a letter. I'll wait a day or two, probably 2-3 days, let the letter hit.
Okay.
The other thing I was going to tell you, I forgot to tell you, is that I'm sending that to both the address of the estate, and I'm also sending that to the address of the executor, because those are not, they're not going to be the same. And sometimes it's like, well, I got 2 letters from you. I was like, yeah, I want to make sure that I got it to you.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I think that's a great idea.
Okay, good. I want to make sure I mention that.
I think my team is missing it. Okay, what's the other process? Anything else? So I have drop it into Mojo once you get it from US Probates, and then follow up boss for text and drip emails, text and call first thing. Letter goes out as well first thing to the estate address and to the executors.
And to the executor, yes.
Now that letter, that first initial letter, do you have the letter and then those other 2 documents with the timeline and No,
I'll wait. I'll send my letter that says hello. I'll put in so that's my kind of hello letter. Here it is. It says, "Dear sir, ma'am, we're writing you regarding the estate property located at blank. Our group realizes this may be a difficult time for you and the individuals involved with your loved one's estate. To that end, we have assisted several families that were going through the same issues that you may find yourself facing today. What we offer is a consultative role that makes the settling of the estate transition as smoothly as possible. Please find listed below some of the various services we provide: free marketing analysis for the property, professional real estate sales services, home clean out, maintenance, and home repair. If you're considering selling the above mentioned property and need any of the services listed above, we would greatly welcome the opportunity to meet with you in order to discuss your plans in more detail. We thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to speaking with you in the near future. Sincerely, Michael Higdon, Higdon Home Team."
I like that. That's so great. Good job, Michael. I like that. That's amazing.
And then, then I'm sending, again, the card is in there with my, with my face on it. The probate card is taped to the top, or typed or whatever, paper clip to the top of it, and then a little bit about me, my family.
How did you get that? If somebody wanted to do a write-up like that you have the professional one, how do you get that done? Because that's really cool. It's great for marketing. And I know you personally, so I know that you're a really great guy. You're a family man. You're awesome. You're awesome.
I mean, I was advertising in a local town paper here that is one of those, it was a J-town. Jeffersontown was the small township, probably about 20,000 people. So went out to them every single month, and they featured me one month. And it was just a local writer. So I think you could probably hire a writer. I'll send you this. And you just put in your bio, just saying, "Hey, here's my history in real estate," just like you would with anything. And then I went to my marketing person, got a few photos, and then just had him create a slick based upon that, and had 1,000 copies made, so that again, I'm systemizing this. It's going to my assistant. So she's got all these letters going out. Excuse me. So she's got all these letters going out every single week, and it's a system.
Dude,
now, is it perfect? No. Am I always, tweaking it and trying to make it better? Sure. It's what we do.
Okay. So if it's not perfect, how would you make it perfect?
I'm trying to use more stuff on Follow Up Boss, because I'm, and just getting some more API automated integration where it'll kick over from Mojo to API, to Follow Up Boss once I have that set up as a lead. So I've got somebody kind of working on that. Just again, once I talk to them over here, then it can kick over there and maybe send them a follow-up text. So I just think there's some more automation that I can add to it, and some more personalization. I think also incorporating video. So I'm sending a text and it's all just, this, but I think if you can incorporate, "Hey, it's Michael Higdon. I wanted you to put a name with a face." Again, I know you're going through a rough time right now. Just wanted to reach out and see if, you're going to need to sell this property over here on 55 Main Street. Would love to talk to you about that and see if there's something we can do to help to make that facilitation process, help you navigate through some of the pitfalls, help you educate you on some investors that may be trying to knock your door down, and just have a compassionate role in helping you through this process. Please give me a call at the numbers listed below.
That's amazing. And that's something that we can do as well. Are you familiar with SmartList and Mojo that transfer over to Follow Up Boss?
Yes, and I've got those set up for some expired stuff. So I've got my girl working on
Cool.
on doing that stuff. I just, again,
we use a lot of the smart list. It's easy.
You're younger, dude. You're better at this stuff than I am, with all the technology and stuff.
I don't do any of that. My virtual assistant does all that. She's been with me for 2 years.
You're just better at delegating to somebody else.
I do a ton of delegation. Yeah, there's just too much. I mean, dude, when you're closing 300 deals a year, it's like you don't really have a whole lot of time to do other stuff. But for the agent that doesn't want to do 300 deals, which you can or cannot do that, to do 30 deals a year is a great living. You did 30 with 14 million in sales volume, which is just incredible, right? Like that provides a great living for your family. You have enough time, and you're in a niche for the probates and estates, which are, dude, I like it a lot. I just really do. There's not a lot of real estate agents hitting it. There's a lot of investors, but if you're kind, generous, empathetic person like yourself, you're going to crush it. And I think you do a great job with that. And it's helped me out a lot in my career. So I thank you a lot.
Yeah. And I'm always, again, we talked about before we came on, just, it's not a normal market right now. And there's no such thing as normal in the last couple of years. No, but I think you and I have seen those down markets before, and that's where we thrive. So always growing, always looking to get out of our comfort zone. But I think this is what I would deem as a recession-proof business, meaning people are going to, again, not to be callous, people are going to pass away every single day. It's just we're all going to that big real estate place in the sky, right?
Well, let's just put it this way, right? So there's 10,000 baby boomers a day that are retiring, and that means that they're getting older. They hold the majority of the wealth in America, which is generally going to be through stocks and real estate. And they need assistance, right? And a lot of times they have enough money to where they just don't want to deal with it. So they don't want to do for sale by owner. They just want to get rid of it. They're not worried about a rental property at this time in their life. So you can pick it up as an investor for yourself or have it as a listing. I think it's a great resource, and you've been monumental in helping me get to that point. And like I was telling you before, I think we started the recording, I just bought a rental property from a probate and estate. I mean, I had 2 other people going after it. I was the third person. I stayed in touch with them twice a week. I would call him and say, hey, I really want this. It's right down the street from me. This is the price I give you. Here's proof of funds, etc. He didn't want to list it because there's some stuff going on with the roof and yada yada. So I ended up getting it, and I was lucky to get it because there's competition, and he just had kind of a different personality than myself that I don't necessarily jive with, but we got the deal done. So there is so much to this that it's incredible. I think your calls, your texts, your letters, and going to the estate and the executor are great, man. I think that's just phenomenal. So hats off to you on that.
Well, again, I'm always open to suggestions and tweaks, and say, hey, man, because that's what we've done. We've masterminded in the past and say, hey, you might want to add this or try this. And that's where we get better and get more fluid with it.
Yeah. Well, I like your script. I think that's great. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you have. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, or I know? No,
I'm an open book. So, I mean, people want to reach out to me, and this is not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. It's really in the doing. Yeah. But the one caveat is you have to come at it with compassion and really have a helping heart with it. Because if it's just another transaction, you've got to flip that. Hey, I know it's an expired listing, blah, blah, blah. This is hey, I'm sorry about your loss.
Yeah.
You've got to get in there with people and really mean it. I've lost 3 parents, so it's tough. Death is tough. So, so just know that going into it. But anybody can do this, but you've got to be intentional about your plan and intentional about your calls. There are not a lot of them in the state or the city that you're in, maybe, but they're gold if you can get in there.
They are. Yeah. I'll even go an hour north of me to like Camp Verde, Cottonwood, Sedona, up to Flagstaff if we need to. But it's just, it's one of those lead sources that there's not a lot of people like canceled expireds for sale by owners, right? Yeah. So I think that's a good one. And then like neighborhood prospecting, like just picking a neighborhood and doing that. If you want to do the 30 to 50 deals, have a good living, have a good life, that's the way to do it, and focus on your sphere of influence. So that's a great system that you have, Michael. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I took down a lot of notes, so I'll email you, and we'll get something going.
I'll tap into any of those resources that I told you, because there's so much free stuff out there on YouTube or any of the programs. It's just, again, you got to put a little sweat equity into it and do some work and get familiar with that process. But once you start doing it, I come up with a list probably around 75 to 80 people every single month. Out of those, I'll set 2 to 3 appointments. And out of those 2 to 3 appointments, I'm probably listing and selling 1 to 2 properties out of that niche every single month.
So question for you, what are the objections you're getting when you go to those appointments or when you're making those phone calls?
You'll get everything. Well, some of them, it's like, hey, we're keeping it in the family. I'm going to keep it as a rental property. My son's moving in there. You're an ambulance chaser. You're a POS. You'll get called everything in the book, just like with anything else. But the thing is, it's like, you know what? We're just not sure. And those are your antennas should stay up. Is when they say, you know what, we're not sure what we're going to be doing with it. We're definitely going to have to sell it. And you ask that question, is it your intention to retain the property? Yeah. And they could say, no, we're going to have to sell it, but we're months away from figuring that out. This is a heavy lead follow-up system as well.
All right. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I'm huge about follow-up, and I know that you have to follow up with these. So what's that follow-up look like for those?
For me, it's like, I totally understand you've got your hands full here. So ideally, with the estate, when are you guys looking to do something?
Okay, great question.
You got to peg them down on a number or on a time. Okay. So whether it's, we're probably 6 months out from clean up, clean out, whatever, great. Divide that in half.
Okay.
All right. Then send them when you hang up the phone, send them a thank you note. Okay. Another thing, a handwritten thank you note with another card in there.
Yeah.
It says, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me about the property over here. Again, per our conversation, I'll follow up with you in the coming months. I always split it in half and say, would it be okay if I just reconnect with you in the next few months just to see how things are progressing, or if I could be of value to you?
Yeah. So what are some of the resources that probates and estate clients need when you call them? Like,
number one, a clean out person.
Yep. So, okay. Number one, clean out person. So
like a hauler, just some guy that's a utility person that can come in and say, I've got all this old carpet in here. We've got these beautiful hardwood floors underneath, and we want to rip that out. Or we've got several old refrigerators that don't work anymore. Because I've been into a lot of houses that with this generation, there's a lot of hoarders.
Yep.
And because they come from the Depression era thinking is like, I don't want to get rid of anything because I don't want to go through that again. And I don't know if that could ever come back around. So you want to call back and say, hey, listen, it's Michael Higdon. If you can get their email, definitely.
Okay. Make sure you get email.
It's like if you and I were to connect, and I know you're not ready to do anything else, James, what would be the best email for me to send just some more personalized information to you?
Perfect. I like that.
Get that, put it in your follow-up box, send them an email, send them a personal note. That personal note always helps as well, because they're continuing to get the crap in the mail, long form. But if they get a little note handwritten, who's not going to open that?
I know. Yep.
Everybody's going to open that, because it might be a birthday card. It's an ego thing. Everybody wants to open that, and they'll see that. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that guy called. And then you call back a couple months later. Hey, it's Michael. Just wanted to reach back out, see how things were progressing with the property over here on Bigelow.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got we did the clean out. Great. Would you need anything in terms of handyman or electrician? I know some people need some roof work. Do you need any resources like that? Perfect. I'm in a BNI group, so I can easily refer those people to all the people in my BNI group for that.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
And then you're trying to show value every single time. Perfect. Hey, listen, I know you're probably 6 months away from that. Did you know that it could take anywhere from, month and a half, 2 months from the time you even get this on the market to getting it sold? Did you realize that that's the time frames?
Yeah.
Gosh, no. So did you want to be on the market at that time, or did you want to start selling?
Yeah.
Go back to some of the old scripts. Say, listen, why don't we get together now, since this is such a changing market, see what the home values are doing. I can get together in person with you, take a look at the house, make some recommendations on something that may get you more money in your pocket without having to spend a lot of money. Would that be value to you? So you're just trying to get in there. And once you're in there, my close rate on those is probably 85, 90% once I'm in the door.
I like that. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And the reason that your close rate is 80 to 95% is because you've studied this. You go in empathetic, you go in as a generous contributor, and you're a go-giver, right? With all the information that you can.
Not only that, but there's not a lot of competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of agents there's not a lot of agents that are doing this right. There's a few, but there's not a lot that are willing to make that call. And they're great properties. One, they're vacant already.
Yes. Yeah.
They're already cleaned out a lot of times. Are they dated? Yes. And they say, what do I need to do here? And sometimes it's like, I wouldn't do anything, because once you open that Pandora's box, it may have the 1960s shag carpet in there. And I always recommend doing the easy things. If it's got shag carpet and there's wood floors underneath, guess what? Somebody wants to see those.
Yeah.
Because as soon as somebody buys it, the first thing they're going to do is pull out that carpeting out.
Yeah.
Painting carpet's easy and it adds instant value.
Perfect.
But I'm not going to tell you to tear down walls or take off roofs, or unless it's something that's mechanical in nature.
Yeah.
But then you put it on the market as is and see what the market's going to bear. But most of the time, it's like, it's an easy sell because they're vacant.
Yep. Okay. I want to ask you two more questions before I let you go. So, and this has been freaking phenomenal. I love it. If you get a lead and you call, you're not getting through to them, are you going to go back into a system to skip trace that, or no? I keep it.
Am I talking to them or am I not talking to them?
No, you haven't gotten a hold of them. Like, the contact information is just not good.
Yeah, I'll go back and either skip trace it through Mojo or what's that? Do you use Forewarn?
No, what's Forewarned?
It's Forewarn is a system you can go in and just type in addresses. It'll give you multiple. Doesn't give you emails, but it'll give you cell phones and like all the list of phones that this person's ever had. So if you have an executor's name kind of in that state or around that city, you can type it in there and it'll give you multiple names and addresses. And it's pretty legit.
Next thing is, what if you call them and they're like, we haven't even started the probate. We don't even know where to go. Do you have attorneys that you're giving them and whatnot?
Absolutely. So again, in my BNI group, and there's and I've held on to, and this is another thing, this is a whole separate thing that this is to the agents out there. Let me start with one. I do have a great probate attorney that I work with. Okay. And I say, perfect. Do you need representation or somebody to walk you through that first initial plan of filing the probate? Most of the people I'm talking to, it's already been filed or they have an attorney. Yeah. I'd say 95% of them, but if they don't, great. I've got a couple of great attorneys. If you don't have one, would that be of value to you for me to refer you to one? Also, in that data file that we get from US Probates, you get the estate address, the last estate of the decedent is what it's called. You get the administrator or person. It's called the PR, the personal representative. That's the executor or the administrator, and they'll give you multiple phone numbers already on there. All right, so you can skip trace that as well. But they also give you the attorney and their phone number. So what I'll do is call the attorneys, and if I can't get hold of the executor straight out, call the attorney. Say, hey, John, this is or James, this is Michael Higdon with eXp Realty. Hey, real quick, I know that you're representing the estate over here, the Billings estate over on 324 Primrose. Does that ring a bell?
Love it. Yeah,
great. Hey, listen, I know I do a lot of business with probates and estates and work with a lot of great attorneys like yourself. I wanted to see, first of all, do you have any contact information to them? Do they need a good go-to realtor to help them on the sale of that property?
Yeah.
And then find out, okay, great. Are you open to sharing their information with me? Here's what I've got for their information. I haven't been able to get a hold of them. Would you be able to jive us up or get together?
Love it.
And you never know what they're going to say. They may say yes, they may say not. And they say, you know what? I totally understand the privacy, your attorney-client privilege, all that. Let me ask you this on a professional side, away from this particular property. I know you do a lot with probates. Do you yourself have a go-to realtor that you utilize from a referral standpoint to help your clients? And that's where you can say, I don't know if you'd be open to having a coffee or lunch. I'd be happy to buy you coffee, lunch, dinner, whatever you like, just to show you what we've done. We've helped over 150 families locally here in the Louisville area settle estates. So I'm pretty familiar with the process and most of the legalities that you deal with on a daily basis. If I can help you close more properties so you get paid faster.
Yeah.
That's an enticing question for them. If I can help you get paid faster on the probate side, would that be a benefit to you? And a third of them are going to say, oh, I've already got an agent that I go to. A third of them are going to tell you to go jump in the lake or get bent. And then the other third's going to say, well, no, I don't. Perfect. If we could start a relationship together, if I could possibly send you business and help your clients, would that be something we could have a lunch over and talk about?
Yeah.
I know Michael Young in San Francisco. He's the guy that I reached out to. This is probably 8 years ago. That's all he does. He has a list of about 80 attorneys that refer him business.
Really?
So he does about 100 deals a year just from referrals. So like, yeah, this is, I'm James. I'm the attorney. You're going to call Michael. He's the realtor that you're going to be using to sell this property. Not, hey, here's a list. Michael's going to sell the property for you. Okay, just give him a call and he'll take care of the listing.
Love it, dude.
How would you like that call?
Yeah, I had my virtual assistant pull all the attorneys here in town. And my goal for next year is to drop by all those, send them cards, drop by a card. And I've gotten quite a few.
Well, I think that's something we could probably systemize. Let's hold each other accountable on that and start growing that.
Yes, I will do that with you. Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you. You rock, man, and keep it up. And thank you for everything. Thanks for being such a kind human being, dude. You're amazing. So,
all right, brother.